Nutrition. This is what I'd recommend to myself if I was just getting started in either half marathon or marathon training. I am weeks away from running my next marathon. This marathon is going to be in Boise, Idaho. It's called the City of Trees Marathon, and I'm going to do a full distance of 26.2. And this is what I'd recommend to myself if I was just getting started in either half marathon or marathon training. Nutrition early on for me wasn't really something I considered. I didn't carry water, I didn't carry gels, and if I even felt hungry on a run and went to the store, I'd end up buying poor food that really didn't help me for the rest of the run, like granola bars, things like that. Now, some people's stomachs react differently, so arguably you could do a granola bar if you're taking off small bits and pieces and not eating it in one big lump sum, but I'd actually take the entire thing, and it really negatively affected the rest of my run. So what I recommend is taking at least 3 to 4 ounces of water for your training sessions. Now this varies based upon how far you're going in a given run, but if you're going to be going 3 miles, I take at least 1 gel, and that can be through GOO, that can be through Hammer Nutrition, it can be through Honey Stinger, any specific gel that you find is best for your stomach. And typically the rule is take a gel every 3 miles or half an hour, whichever comes first. So if you run a little bit slower, you probably want to do the half an hour mark. If you run a little bit faster, you probably want to do the 3 mile mark. Now, all nutrition should be based upon what you prefer and what works well with your stomach. Now, when I did my last marathon, I took GOO energy gels. They work really well to fuel my body, but they don't feel necessarily super great when I'm actually running a race. And so what I ended up doing was drinking NUUN Hydration's carbonated tablets. And those were provided to me by happenstance on the Portland Marathon route. I didn't even bring any water from my marathon. I just relied on the aid stations with water. I don't exactly remember at what point my stomach started to turn, but I think it was around the halfway mark. So when I started taking the NUUN Hydration tablet water, that actually fizzes and it's kind of like carbonation. So that helped settle my stomach for the remaining miles of my marathon. It was really helpful because the GOO energy gels were able to actually sustain me. I still needed something to help my stomach get through the rest of the miles. And NUUN Hydration, those tablets were really helpful for that. What I recommend doing before you even get too deep into marathon or half marathon training is to check the race website to see what's going to be provided on race day at the aid stations. That way you know which brand gels are going to be provided to you, if any at all, and which drinks are going to be provided to you, if any at all. Sometimes people just stick with Gatorade and they stick with general food. Candies, some people use Hammer Nutrition, some people use Tailwind for drinks. What you want to figure out is what you should be doing and training with leading up to your actual marathon or half marathon. So you're not surprised and your stomach isn't surprised along with you when you start taking items at an aid station. If you're only training with water, that can actually really negatively affect your performance. And the reason being is that you actually need to fuel your body with salt. That can be electrolytes or it can be salt tablets, but you don't want to specifically rehydrate with only water. You can do it with water if everything is already just too sticky sweet or just too salty, but you don't want to exclusively use water because what you can actually develop, which is something very bad called hyponatremia. And what that does is it actually means that your body doesn't have enough salt in it and fatalities happen. What I recommend doing is finding a balance between gels, between water, and water with salt in it, or salt tablets, or electrolytes. What you don't want is to use something so exclusively that your body doesn't have the ability to adapt to changes, especially on race day. And what I recommend is not consuming and rehydrating exclusively with just water. You need to hydrate yourself with salt because salt prevents cramping, and if you only use water, cramping will inevitably happen. So just take that with a grain of salt as well, literally. So these are some of my thoughts about how to prepare leading up to a half marathon and marathon regarding nutrition. Please leave a comment down below if you have any other questions, and I can help answer those questions in the comments.